Part 3. Shadows Converging Deep Space. Aboard the ISD Arbitrator. The tip from Nar Shaddaa was a faint echo in the vast, cold intelligence apparatus of the Galactic Empire, but it landed on precisely the right or wrong desk. Inquisitor Marok studied the report in the sterile blue light of his private chamber. A security cam feed, grainy and half-destroyed, showed the Cantina alley. A Pantoran female, maybe a teenager, gestures. A QSO crime lord is flung like a doll into a transparent steel viewport with impossible force. The audio, corrupted, still picked up the panicked scream. Jedi! Marok's black armor, adorned with the stark red symbol of the Inquisitorius, seemed to drink the light. He was a void in the Force, a hunter trained to sense the faintest flicker of the light he sought to extinguish. This was no mere rumor. This was a signature. A desperate, untrained, but potent burst of telekinesis. Survivors. Young survivors. The thought was delectable. He keyed a comm. Prepare my shuttle. Plot a course for the Teth system. Scans indicate a freighter matching the description from the Nar Shaddaa dockmaster entered hyperspace on a trajectory toward that sector. I will conduct the purge personally. His voice was a dry rasp, like stone grinding on bone. Alert the others. The ninth sister enjoys enthusiastic interrogations. She will meet me there. The hunt was on. Meanwhile, on board the Crimson Dawn vessel, Silent Shadow. The report on Lady Kira's datapad was far more detailed than the Empire's. It included credit histories, weapon preferences, ship modifications, and the butchered remains of Vosk's operation. Crimson Dawn's intelligence network, a spiderweb spanning the underworld, had felt the tremor. Kira stood at the viewport, her posture immaculate, her expression one of calm calculation. She wore refined, tactical attire, a blaster at her hip, authority woven into her very stillness. The hologram of her master, a shrouded crimson figure with a distorted multi-voice transmission, flickered behind her. The Force is a tool. These younglings wield it clumsily out of fear and desperation. Such tools can be sharpened, reforged. Their anger is a beacon. Retrieve them. Bring them into the fold. They have already proven they can get their hands dirty. We have use for such initiative. The hologram dissolved into static. The command was clear. The speaker anonymous to all but her. Maul's name was a silent specter in the room. His will the gravity that pulled all things into his design. Kira allowed herself a small, cold smile. Jedi on the run, turning to blasters and spice to numb the pain. They were perfect, disillusioned, ruthless, and utterly without a safe harbor. The Empire would see them as vermin to be crushed. Crimson Dawn saw them as assets to be acquired. She turned to her lieutenant, a grim-faced Deveronian. The Wandering Star is en route to Teth for a Pike Syndicate pickup. Have our agents on the ground delay the Pikes. Create a vacuum. We will be the new employers. Prepare my personal shuttle. I will make the offer in person. The Inquisitorius is also moving. We must be more persuasive. Teth, abandoned separatist refinery complex. The Wandering Star settled on a crumbling landing pad nestled in the soggy, vine-choked jungles of Teth. The air was thick with humidity and the smell of decaying machinery and exotic pollen. The job was straightforward. Intercept a convoy carrying a shipment of banned proton charge detonators being sold to a local warlord, relieve the Pikes of their cargo, and deliver it to a rival buyer for a tidy profit. Zara moved with a jittery, sharp energy. The spice was out of her system, leaving raw nerve endings and a headache that pulsed behind her yellow-golden eyes. The nightmares were closer to the surface now, a dark current just beneath her skin. She checked her modified DL-44 blaster with manic intensity. Kael watched her, his side still bandaged but healing. He saw the tremor in her hands, the too-wide focus of her eyes. Stay close to me. No heroics. We hit fast. We grab the crate. We go. I know the plan, she snapped, her voice brittle. They moved through the dripping, oppressive greenery, using the colossal, rusted husks of separatist tanks as cover. The convoy was a single, heavily modified cargo skiff, guarded by 4 Pike thugs in mismatched armor. The exchange was happening under the shadow of a gargantuan, defunct refinery tower. On my mark, Kael whispered, raising his rifle. Before he could give the signal, a new sound cut through the jungle, the shriek of sublight engines. A sleek, black Lambda-class shuttle, devoid of imperial markings but radiating menace, descended like a raptor, blasting the pike skiff with precise laser cannon fire. The skiff erupted in a fireball, scattering armored bodies and the precious crate. From the shuttle's ramp, two figures emerged. Inquisitor Merrick strode forward, his lightsaber hilt prominent on his belt. Beside him loomed the Ninth Sister, a massive Do'Utan, her face a grotesque mask of scars and fervor, her own saber hilt looking like a brutal cleaver. "Feel them?" the Ninth Sister growled, her voice like grinding rocks. "The fear is delicious, like rotten fruit." "Two of them," Merrick confirmed, his helmet scanning the tree line. "The girl is strong in her anger. The boy, disciplined, hiding." "Come out, little Jedi," he called, his voice amplified and echoing through the clearing. "The galaxy has no more shadows for you to hide in." Zara's blood turned to ice. Kael's hand clamped on her arm, his face pale. "They found us." "How?" The answer was irrelevant. The reality was the two dark specters standing amidst the burning wreckage. Before they could move, a second shuttle, matte gray and utterly silent, glided over the canopy and settled between them and the Inquisitors. The ramp lowered without a sound. Lady Kira walked down the ramp, unarmed, unflinching, as if the two Inquisitors and the burning wreckage were merely scenery. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, swept past the dark hunters and locked onto the rusted tank where Zara and Kael were hiding. "Inquisitors," Kira said, her voice cool and carrying. "This is Crimson Dawn territory. Your purge is encroaching on a commercial transaction." Merrick's helmet tilted. "The Jedi are enemies of the Empire. They fall under our jurisdiction. Step aside, citizen, or be considered an accomplice." Kira smiled, a thin, dangerous curve of her lips. "The Empire's jurisdiction ends where our practicality begins. These two are already under contract. Crimson Dawn has claimed them." She didn't even look at the Inquisitors as she spoke. She was speaking directly to the hiding pair. "The offer is simple. Come with me, under my protection, and your past ceases to be a death sentence. It becomes your qualification. You work for us, or," she gestured gracefully toward Merrick and the Ninth Sister, "you can try your luck with them." The Ninth Sister ignited her lightsaber. The blade was a violent, unstable crimson, spitting and crackling with dark side energy. "We will carve them from their hiding place, little woman, and you with them." Kael looked at Zara, his mind racing. They were trapped. Before them, two Sith hunters with lightsabers and a thirst for their blood. Behind them, a dense, unknown jungle. And in the middle, a mysterious woman from the most powerful crime syndicate in the galaxy, offering a devil's bargain. Zara met his gaze. The fear in her eyes was molten, hardening into something else. A desperate, reckless fury. The same fury that had crushed Vosk. Her hand twitched toward her blaster, then toward her chest, where beneath her jacket the shape of her lightsaber hilt pressed against her ribs. The choice wasn't between light and dark. It was between two kinds of darkness. One promised a quick death or a life in a cage, tormented by the Inquisitorius. The other promised survival, power, and a different cage altogether. Kira stood, waiting, a statue of calm amidst the gathering storm. The Ninth Sister took a step forward, her orange blade illuminating her scarred face in a hellish glow. Marok unclipped his own hilt. The refinery tower loomed over them all, a silent witness. The air crackled with impending violence. Zara's fingers closed around the cool metal of her blaster. Kael gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. They would not be taken. Not by the Empire. Whatever came next, they would choose it. Zara's blaster was in her hand before the thought fully formed. It wasn't a decision. It was a reflex, honed in 1,000 back-alley fights. But her finger froze on the trigger. The Inquisitors were one problem. The Crimson Dawn envoy was another, and both were between them and the star. Kael's mind clicked through options like a targeting computer. Jungle, unknown terrain, likely fauna, no cover. Inquisitors, trained force hunters, lightsabers. Syndicate, unknown numbers, likely ambush waiting. His side throbbed, a hot reminder of his vulnerability. "You have 5 seconds, Marok stated, his voice devoid of patience. He didn't ignite his blade. He didn't need to. The threat coiled in the air like a serpent. The Ninth Sister took another ground-shaking step, her crimson blade casting long, dancing shadows. "I smell your fear, little rats. It's ripe." Kira didn't move. Her gaze remained fixed on their hiding spot, a slight, knowing tilt to her head. 5 seconds is a luxury you don't have with them, she said, her voice cutting clearly through the humid air. With me, you have a future. Grim, perhaps. But a future. The Empire only offers a past. A dead one. Zara's other hand drifted from her blaster to the hidden compartment in her jacket. The cool cylinder of her lightsaber met her palm. It felt alien. It felt like home. It felt like a death sentence. 3. The ninth sister raised her free hand, fingers curled like claws. Vines near their tank began to writhe and snap, torn from the ground by an unseen force. 2. Kael saw the strategy. The Inquisitors would flush them out. Kira would scoop them up in the chaos. They were prey in a crossfire. 1. Down! Kael roared. He didn't shoot at the Inquisitors. He shot at the rusted support leg of the massive separatist tank they were using for cover. His blaster bolt, amplified by a scavenged power cell, struck a weakened joint. With a shriek of tortured metal, the 80-ton tank lurched sideways, collapsing directly between them and the Inquisitors. Mud and debris erupted in a geyser. Run! Zara screamed, not away from the confrontation, but towards the refinery tower. It was the only structure that offered both cover and vertical escape. They sprinted, boots sucking in the muck, as the ninth sister bellowed in frustration. A chunk of tank plating, hurled by telekinesis, smashed into the ground where they'd just been. Kira's calm facade finally cracked into a sharp, approving smile. Initiative. She snapped her fingers. From the jungle canopy around the clearing, a dozen Crimson Dawn operatives in gray camouflage armor melted into view, blaster rifles trained not on the running Padawans, but on the Inquisitors. You are interfering with Imperial business, Merrick snarled, his lightsaber, a brutal spinning double blade of crackling red, snapping to life. This is our business, Kira replied coolly. Secure the assets. A firefight erupted. Crimson-red blaster bolts from the Dawn agents lanced towards the Inquisitors, who became blurs of deflecting light and brutal force shoves. The ninth sister batted bolts back at their sources, her laughter a booming counterpoint to the screams of Dawn's soldiers caught in the reflected fire. Zara and Kael reached the base of the refinery tower, a vast rusted cylinder disappearing into the misty jungle canopy. A maintenance ladder, half rusted away, scaled its side. Up, Kael gasped, shoving Zara towards the first rung. She holstered her blaster and climbed, her muscles screaming. The metal shrieked and bent under their weight. Below, the battle was a chaotic light show. Marok moved with terrifying efficiency, his spinning blades a vortex that cut through Dawn operatives and jungle alike. Kira, behind the relative cover of her shuttle's ramp, barked orders into a comlink, her eyes tracking the climbing fugitives. They were 20 meters up when the ninth sister noticed. With a guttural roar, she leapt, not at them, but at the tower itself. She landed with a seismic thud on a gantry halfway up, making the entire structure tremble. She began to climb not with her hands, but by punching her lightsaber into the metal and hauling herself up, creating molten handholds. She's coming, Zara yelled, looking down at the monstrous figure ascending like a nightmarish spider. Kael, higher up, spotted it. A corroded service door, hanging half off its hinges. In here! They scrambled onto the gantry and dove through the door into pitch blackness. The air inside was stale, thick with the smell of rust and long-cooled chemicals. Emergency glow strips provided a sickly green illumination along a narrow catwalk that ringed a vast, empty interior silo. The ninth sister's weight landed on the gantry outside, making it groan in protest. There is no hole deep enough, Jedi. Zara ignited her lightsaber. The amethyst blade, snap hissed, to life, casting a brilliant, violent purple glow across the cavernous space. It was the first time she'd lit it in anger since the temple. The sound was a scream from her past. The hum was the song from her nightmares. It felt right. It felt wrong. Kael stared at her, his own hand hovering over his jacket. His blue blade remained hidden. Zara, don't. We're out of don'ts, Kael. She spat, her face etched in the purple light. She's not taking us. Not like them. The ninth sister filled the doorway, her massive frame blocking the light, her orange eyes locked onto the purple blade, and a wide, horrific smile split her scarred face. A lightsaber. Good. Let us see if you remember your forms, little one. She charged, Not with grace, but with the raw, overwhelming power of a landslide. Her crimson blade swept down in a crushing overhead blow. Zara didn't try to block it. She remembered her Ataru training. Flow like the river. She spun aside, the crimson blade scorching the catwalk where she'd stood, and countered with a vicious slash at the Do-Wuten's extended arm. The ninth sister pulled back just in time, the purple tip sizzling past her vambrace. Angry, the Inquisitor laughed, pressing the attack with heavy, two-handed sweeps meant to break Zara's guard through sheer force. But anger is untidy. Zara was faster, leaping over a horizontal cut, using the force to push off the silo wall and come down behind the giant woman. Her blade licked out, drawing a line of smoking black across the ninth sister's backplate. The Inquisitor roared in pain and spun, backhanding Zara with a fist like a hydraulic press. Zara flew across the catwalk, crashing into a control panel. Sparks flew. Her vision swam. She tasted blood. Kael finally moved. No lightsaber. He grabbed a severed, dangling high-tension cable, its end sparking wildly, and with a grunt of effort, he whipped it like a lash. It wrapped around the ninth sister's ankle. She shrieked as thousands of volts coursed through her systems. Her muscles locked. Her lightsaber sputtered. Now, Zara! Zara, pushing through the pain, lunged, not for a killing blow. She drove her purple blade straight down, piercing the catwalk itself at the Inquisitor's feet. Then she poured every ounce of her fury, her fear, her 3 years of running into a single massive force push. The metal grating, already weakened by age and the lightsaber strike, shattered. The entire section of catwalk gave way. The ninth sister, still spasming from the electrocution, plummeted with a howl of rage into the black depths of the silo. A second later, a distant, wet crunch echoed upwards, followed by silence. Zara slumped against the wall, her lightsaber deactivating, plunging them back into near darkness. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from the rush, the dark, satisfying finality of it. Kael stared at the hole in the catwalk, then at Zara. His expression was unreadable. The sound of elegant boots clicking on metal made them both turn. Lady Kira stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the gray light of the jungle behind her. She wasn't even breathing heavily. She held a small, cylindrical device in one hand, a thermal detonator. Adequate, she said, her voice echoing in the vast space. Though wasteful, the ninth sister had her uses. She glanced at the hole. Marak is occupied with my remaining team. Briefly. She stepped forward, her eyes assessing them. On Zara, she saw the wild, unhinged power, the lethal spark. On Kael, she saw the cold, tactical control. The offer stands, but it is now less an offer and more the only door left open. She tossed the thermal detonator casually in her hand. You've just killed an Inquisitor. The Empire will not stop. They will send more. They will send worse. Your ship is likely being impounded as we speak. The Pikes will blame you for their lost shipment. You have no credits, no allies, and a galaxy that wants you dead or in chains. She stopped a few feet away. Crimson Dawn is not the Jedi Order. We do not deal in might-have-beens or what-ifs. We deal in results, in power, in survival. You want to survive? You work for me. You want to do more than just survive. You learn to thrive in the shadows. You turn your past from a weakness into a weapon. Zara looked at her lightsaber hilt, still warm in her hand. She looked at Kael, his face a mask of grim resignation. She thought of the wandering star, of the hidden compartment, of the ghost that followed her into every dream. There was no light side. There was no dark side. There was only the next step. And the next. And the one after that. What's the job? Zara asked, her voice hoarse. Kira's smile returned, thin and sharp as a vibroblade. The job is whatever I say it is. Your first task, come with me. Your ship is lost. Your old life is ashes. Welcome to the dawn. Outside, the sounds of blaster fire had ceased. The dawn had won, or had withdrawn cleanly. The choice was made. Zara clipped her lightsaber to her belt in the open for the first time in 3 years. It felt like a weight. It felt like a promise. Kael gave one last look at the hole where the ninth sister had fallen, then back at the path behind them, the path of endless running. He nodded once, a surrender to a new kind of gravity. They followed Lady Kira out of the broken refinery, leaving the shadows of their past for the deeper, structured shadows of a syndicate that promised not redemption, but a kind of ruthless, purposeful power. The wandering star was gone. The game had changed. They were no longer just survivors hiding from the dark. They were walking into it, to be continued. If you enjoyed the audio story, like and subscribe to find out more about Zara and Kael's journey.